Hey, good afternoon. Good morning still, 11:30 here this morning. And I wanted to jump on Facebook here just to kind of talk about Beryl as it's heading our way, what we're expecting and how things go out. Big blob of rain is coming in our general direction here. And that is with Beryl now a tropical storm in Texas, moving off to the north and east now. Just walloped Houston and Galveston, a lot of power outages down there, a lot of power infrastructure issues with the storm as it lifts off to the north and east. We're not going to deal with anything like what they are down there in Texas from this storm, but this low pressure system, it's got a swirl to it, right? Low pressures, they go counterclockwise like this. That general remnant low, as it continues to weaken, will head in our direction. And it's going to pull some rain and storms in our direction, which is some good news for us. So that's something that we'll be looking for here as we move on through. So Beryl right now is lashing Houston. In fact, moving out of Houston. Pretty interesting to see here. We'll kind of zoom in on it a little bit and show you what we've been watching here. Most of the storm now past Houston. This is the eye wall. That thing had 80 to 100 mile an hour wind gusts through Houston Metro and down towards Galveston. The latest number I saw was 1.5 million people out of power. And so a lot of power outages, a lot of infrastructure damage, things like that. It's going to take some time to get the lights back on in Houston. But this storm, not the worst they've ever had, but certainly delivered quite a blow to the Houston Metro and Galveston with the wind and even the tornado potential further to the east there, as there's been a couple of confirmed tornadoes already north of Beaumont, Texas, from the storm as it lifts our way. So as it comes in our direction, it's a long ways away, but we actually are starting to see some influence in our weather pattern from this. There's actually some banding of the clouds that's showing up, and they'll kind of pivot on through. And so if you look closely, there are some signs here of that happening where, as this gets closer and closer, that cloud cover will start to thicken. And there'll be some breezy winds with it by the time it gets here. But it's not going to be anything strong or severe for us. For us, mainly going to be rainy as it moves in our general direction. So the thing a lot of folks have been asking is, and we'll get to that, is how much rain do we expect? And I'm going to spend some time kind of talking about that, saying this is not the end of the world. This is not the worst storm we've ever had. But for a lot of folks who are hoping for some rain, this is maybe the best hope we've had in some time. So we want to look through some of those more specific caveats and things like that. There's another look at Beryl. It's a pretty interesting storm. Currently now a tropical storm, winds of 70 mile per hour, wind gust up to 90. And it's moving north-northeast at 13 miles an hour. That's fairly slow here. So it will take some time to get here, but we will see it speed up. And then again, kind of looking at some of the radar features of that. Pretty classic looking tropical system here. The right side of the storm is the wetter and stormier side here. The left side, not as rainy, but it will be bringing some rain in our direction. I do want to take a look at the camera in Houston. We've been watching this camera, and it'll pop up here in a second. At one point, it was facing horizontal to the horizon, just like our weather cameras. The wind blew it facing down now, so we can only see a sliver of downtown there. And earlier it was just whiteout conditions and the heavy rain and the wind blowing things around. Still breezy there. That camera got blown downward, and the other cameras we have are offline there. And so, we're not getting a good view, but you can see how that camera is moving and get an idea with what is going on. Let's talk through the track of this. First off, at the point we're at now for our rain chance here, if you're a fan of soccer, follow along here. And a lot of you have probably done this yourselves. When you kick a ball, you start to kick that ball and you're kicking it towards the goal or playing kickball on the playground. Maybe your kids are doing that. If your foot is an inch or two different on where it hits the ball, that's going to change the direction, right? Well, that's kind of where we're at here with Beryl is, a movement at 10, 20 miles from the center of the storm is enough to make it 50, 100 mile difference downstream here. And we kind of saw it take a little bit of a wobble here to the right over Houston, which does have implications for us downstream, kind of leaning now back to a southern path up the Ohio River and then the Wabash River valleys, maybe a little sharper of a turn. We thought maybe originally it would cut across more like that, but maybe more of a sharper direct path in our direction, which is going to impact where that axis of heavier rain ends up for us here. One of the reasons that Beryl is moving in this direction is the jet stream. The jet stream is that atmospheric highway, and that atmospheric highway is pretty fascinating where it will tell us a lot of what's going on with things here. And so we see right now there's actually a bit of a trough overhead. And that trough is just a dip in the jet stream. Fairly weak. It's not the strongest thing ever, but it's there. And that trough will often act like a magnet. And so this low pressure is going to be pulled upwards to that, and it will accelerate in our direction and bring with it some tropical moisture and some rain into the Illinois area, into the Ohio River Valley. You'll see here how that trough just kind of pulls it up there, grabs it, and pulls it away, and then it'll swing out the eastern seaboard. And behind it, this thick green, there's dark green color. That's going to be really humid behind the system coming our way. And so you'll feel that humidity from that. So we're kind of looking at the pattern here, assessing what's going on. The storm itself, again, it's not the biggest thing that's ever happened in Illinois, but we've been in some desperate need of rain. And so I do want to talk about that rain. And there could still be some flooding, I think, by the time we come to Wednesday morning here. First off, into tonight, might see a few scattered showers and some thunderstorms there. Cloud cover will thicken. That will be from the remnants of Beryl as it gets closer and closer. And then you'll see here by Tuesday morning, there's probably at least some light rain out there, maybe some scattered showers and storms. But the bulk of the action looks to arrive Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday night. Some interesting things will happen with this. Notice all the intense storms down here to the south and east of us. That's where there could be a severe threat. Sometimes these tropical systems can produce, they're spinning systems and pretty tightly wound. And so you could get severe weather, tornadoes potential with that. That looks to be south and east of us. So we are not worried about severe potential from this as it comes our way. But you do see here some yellows and some oranges sitting overhead. That's some good news here. Remember, the center of the low, if it comes a little further to the north, going to bring that more into our area. If it pulls a little further to the south, it'll pull that rain and storms more to the south and east there. But some way, shape, or form, that low will be pivoting on through. And we may see a couple of things happen here. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, this lingering band will set up somewhere in our region. We'll see exactly where it sets up, but that may bring some good, steady, soaking rains for us from Beryl coming our way. And so as that happens then, there can be several hours of a steady, moderate rain, which is good. We need that light to moderate rain over a long period of time to soak into the ground and help with the drought potential. Keep that down. And so this is the good type of system for us, which is what we're so excited about here, with some cautious optimism where that band sets on up. Lighter amounts to the north and west, more amounts probably to the south and east. But then you see this here. See this? This is called the dry slot. And sometimes you see the low pressure, the moisture will wrap around that. That dry slot may put a bit of a lull in rain totals towards I-70 to the south and east there. So we'll just watch. Could be a bit of a sharp gradient there with that highest rain total. But then as we get to Wednesday morning out the door, some lingering rain still in the area exiting. But then by Wednesday afternoon and evening, it does look like we'll be mainly clear from the bulk of the activity, though some scattered shower and thunderstorm development may return Wednesday afternoon and evening into the region. So that is a look at the forecast for that. Again, severe weather, I'm not worried about with this system. I don't have concerns for that. If there was severe weather, and the graphic will update here in a second, that potential is going to be south and east of us. You can see today just a sliver showing up there south of Effingham, that light green. That'd be for late tonight into tomorrow morning. And then as we go into Tuesday, Indiana, areas south and east of I-70, a marginal risk. That'll be for maybe a couple of weak tornadoes possibly, but not in our area. The center track, bringing it this way, means to the right is where that severe potential happens, where you typically see that. So we're on the left side, and getting some rain from this is what we would maybe get the benefit of it. So this is a great outcome for us here in central Illinois. I do want to talk about rain amounts, though. Yes, some flooding possible with this system for us here locally. We will watch that closely. There is a flash flood watch out, and that flash flood watch goes all the way down from Arkansas and carries up into our region here. You can see these green, so northern and northwestern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, and then into southern Illinois and southwest Indiana, where that flood watch is in effect here. There's some river flood warnings. There's been some river flooding on the Mississippi River and even in the Missouri River there from heavier rains earlier this month and last month. But this could be some more flash flood potential for particularly the southern parts of the state. And we will probably see an expansion of that watch, I think, potentially into more of our counties here. We will watch and see. I think the best potential for flash flooding here going to be in the red area. I'm going to call it medium. Now, one thing I want to reiterate is that potential does not necessarily mean outcome. It means risk. What we're likely to see is a band of heavy rain set up somewhere in the region. And I think where that is more likely to be in the red than in the yellow. Just because you're in the yellow doesn't mean you're not getting rain or you won't get flooding rain. But it does mean maybe the risk is a little higher according to what I'm seeing in this area there. So that's kind of something that we'll continue to monitor. One thing we like to do is we use weather models to help us see what's going on. Weather models are wrong, but they're useful, and they give us trends here. So I'm going to show you 4 different outcomes for heavy rain potential. And I think we're still on target for a widespread 1 to 3. There will be areas that are more likely to see 3. There are areas that will be more likely to see 1, but we're in that broad band where at least some good beneficial rain looks to be coming for most of us. Of course, the caveat is with all rain, all systems like this, there will be some big winners and there'll be some losers as well there with who sees the higher rainfall totals. So I'm going to take you through that now. From a statewide perspective, I think this shows the overall pattern really well. Northern and western Illinois, probably a swing and a miss from any sort of meaningful rainfall. A pretty sharp cutoff along I-55 and even north of I-72 there. But then to the south and east is where that heavy band is setting up. And that band where you see the reds and oranges and yellows is probably 2, 3, 4 plus here. Can that move? Yes, the center of the low will be tracking through here. If that low is a little further north or south, that's going to pull the band with it. So that's kind of what we're watching is where that heavy band sets up. Some of those more higher resolution models showing this banding here. This particular run of future track gives us that 1 to 3 band from Champaign-Taylorville to the south and east. Still getting some pockets to the north and west there, but lighter amounts west of I-55 and north of I-72. But we'll see. We see that general corridor setting up there that sticks out to us. Another view here, maybe a little higher in the amounts and bringing it from Effingham to Paris, perhaps the best axis. The same trend, I-55, pretty sharp cutoff, lighter amounts. Then the amounts start to pick up where we see along I-57, that 1 to 2 inch range and some locally higher amounts certainly possible. And then a third one I'll show you here. This one, probably the most aggressive out of all of them. This particular run also brings the low more to the west and north. I tend to think that's not going to be the case as much. And so what we'll likely see here is, as I can adjust this, we'll probably see that band settle down a little bit more south and east. This may be the more realistic scenario for us. And those values could be a little high, but you see the idea here that if the banding sets up right, somewhere is going to see some heavy rain. Someone's going to see some higher rainfall totals out of this. I can't tell you for sure that's going to be Mattoon and Paris. Will it be Taylorville and Decatur? Will it be Danville that gets greater than 3 inches, 3 to 5? I don't have those answers, and we really won't until we see the storm system by Tuesday afternoon coming our way. We'll be able to see where that band sets up. But we're likely to see at least a band of some higher totals, 2, 3 plus inches somewhere. And I think there will be some folks along I-55 saying, what rain? Or where's that inch you were promising? We kind of see that trend being more along and south of I-72 and along and east of I-57 and along the I-70 corridor where that 1 to 3 inches holds lesser amounts up here to I-55. And again, that's the soccer ball. We're kicking the ball, and as your foot hits an inch or 2 difference on that ball, it's going to steer the direction by the time it hits the goal. Same thing happening here. The low is now being kicked up north into the Great Lakes region, and we're going to watch that and see how that moves our way. So we will see how it shakes out. But in all of these, you see that trend is higher amounts along I-70, along I-57, south of I-72, lesser amounts along I-55. And I think that's going to be the case for us when all is said and done. So with that, that's what I have for you. I got a newscast at noon. It's about 13 minutes from now. Going to go through and get ready for that. Question-wise, I don't think I've been kind of looking. I think we've answered most of them here, but we're keeping an eye on Beryl. This is not the end of the world for Illinois. It is not the worst case scenario for Illinois. In fact, honestly, this probably is a really good scenario for Illinois. If we want help from the tropics to bring rain that's so badly needed here in the Great Lakes and Midwest region, you typically want to see those storms curve into the north and west into Texas, because by default, they're going to curve back in our direction. We were thinking maybe it would make landfall a little further south and west. 50 miles would be a big difference for us here locally. That curve would be a little bit more on the northern side of that track, but perhaps since it's wobbly, a little more north and northeast there. That'll keep it closer to the Ohio River and the Wabash River valleys. But the setup good when it interacts with that jet stream to at least give us a band of heavy rain that we think settles over some of us. The caveat to that, though, is that some of us may deal with flash flooding as we go into Wednesday morning. So that's something we're going to have to watch. Severe weather, not a concern. This is not a wind, tornado, hail producer for us. That potential is south and east of us based on the track of the low pressure. We are on the left side. You typically don't deal with severe weather on the left side of storm systems. Sometimes you can deal with, and that's kind of what we're dealing with now, is on the left side, typically is a drier side, but sometimes as you see these systems interact with other features, the jet stream, it's merging in with another storm system. You can see that left side pick up, and so we may see that band of heavy rain set up close to or south and just the southeast parts of our viewing area. And so that is something that we will watch very, very closely. With that, that is what I have for you. We're going to keep an eye on it. I think a lot of folks are like hearing in the social media, it's the worst case scenario. Hopefully this dispels some of that and gives you some of the facts. And hey, we're expecting rain. Some of us may get more rain than we want. Others of us may get less rain than we want. And we'll be looking for that band of heavy rain to set up somewhere here over the central Illinois region, perhaps Tuesday night with the best potential. Where that ends up, couldn't tell you. That's an honest thought from a meteorologist, but that potential would at least allow for some of us to get some of that heavier rain that we're so desperately needing with those drought conditions. I'll kind of finish with the drought monitor here because that moderate drought is just sticking with us. This is the update from last Thursday. Look at that brown there. That moderate drought is back. And the drought monitor is updated on Thursdays using data from Tuesday to Tuesday. So the next update coming this Thursday will not include Beryl and is likely to see an expansion of the moderate drought conditions. Will we hit severe drought? I don't think yet, but a lot of you remember we were talking about that flash drought potential during the month of June. This is a product of that thinking where we've got those official drought declarations. A lot of us are normally dry. If you're at home, some of you said in the comments, my grass is brown. I need some rain. I got a garden. It needs some rain. I'm tired of watering it. This Beryl might really help us out with giving us a soaking rain for a good number of us. Some of us are going to say afterwards, I wish I had more, but that's what we'll deal with there. 11:51. I'm going to sign out now. If you want to catch the latest forecast updates, I'll have them on WCIA 3 News at noon, and we'll be keeping you updated over the next 24 hours. Looks like Tuesday night going to at least bring some good rain for a good